Hello and thank you for stopping by. I'm your host, Jerry Royce, and welcome to Positive Power 21 Network, where you get your positive on. This is a worldwide podcast for growth, wealth, and success. Thank you.
Positive Power 21.org, Internet Radio.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Positive Power 21.org. A worldwide podcast for growth, wealth, and success. And today on my show, we have Leslie Watley. She was highly recommended by a very, very good friend from her hometown. At least I think he's from her hometown, at least her home state. And he said, you got to get her on the show. She loves that stuff. And so I went with his advice. So Leslie Watley, welcome to Positive Power. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you so much. I feel honored. Thank you for having me on today. And I definitely have to give a shout-out to my dear good friend for recommending me for the show. I really appreciate it.
All right. We appreciate you, too, Leslie. Now, Leslie, what's going on out there right now? I know we're looking for a little snow in the Maryland area, and you from the great state of South Carolina. So what small – are you from a small city or one of the biggest cities in South Carolina?
I'm from a very, very small city. I think we have about 2 to 3 stoplights in the town, so it's very small. Ware Shoals, South Carolina. Giving them a big shout out.
Kind of remind me of the small town my dad is from. You know how you start at a speed at 40. When you come into the town and start dropping down all the way down like 25, and then you radar. It's like a speed trap.
Absolutely. I know all about that.
So that's how they make their money and pay the mayor of the city, right?
Yeah, that's how they get that money.
That's right. That's how the court system get paid. All right. Now, Les, you from a small town. You went to college. What school did you go to?
I went to Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina.
Wow, great. So did you just do your undergrad there, or you did your graduate studies there also?
I just got my undergrad in mass communication, broadcast journalism.
Great. All right. Now, that's one of the best degrees you can get. That was my first choice. Of course, my parents didn't, believe that was a good choice. But has it been good to you, that major?
Well, I definitely think so because it enhanced my ability to be able to communicate, I think, effectively. And while I'm not currently working in that, in my field, I still find time to try to do little side things that I feel like I'm being able to use the degree. So, I think it's been beneficial for me. Absolutely.
Now, tell my audience who you employ with, if you don't mind. If, you don't have to say the exact agency if you don't like.
Yes, I'm employed with the government. I actually was granted an opportunity after college for outstanding scholars, and that meant that I graduated with a higher GPA. And it was an internship with the government, and I applied for it, and I was accepted, and I was in a program for 2 years. And after the 2 years program, I proved myself to be a good employee and, good work ethics, and they would hire me on. And that's exactly what happened. So I've been with the federal government now for 8 years, and I've been on the foreign side of it. So that's been pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is. So now I met you on the foreign side. Now, you've been promoted since then. So what component are you working with now?
I work for a component that deals with international policy. And we basically go out to foreign countries and we negotiate totalization agreements, and we talk about data exchange opportunities where we exchange information from different governments. And so it's pretty interesting at times getting to learn about different countries and the way their laws are set up, and to see if we can have any type of collaborations between the U.S. and any other country out there.
Absolutely. I know it's been a budget crunch lately, so you guys haven't really been doing a whole bunch of traveling, so everything's probably being done by teleconferencing. Is that what's going on there?
For the most part, yeah, for the most part. I'm not on the actual team that gets to travel, but I know that they were talking about a upcoming trip that they're hoping that will get approved, but they definitely cut back on a lot of the travel.
All right. Now, you working for our past AC, well, at least my past AC, my old AC.
Absolutely. I love working for him. I work for him, like we both worked for him in our old component, and now I'm working for him again. So it's definitely good, and he's getting to see a different side of it, where we were working more technically before with our beneficiaries and things like that. Now we're working from more of a policy standpoint and how our laws affect them. So he's getting to see both sides of it. Yep.
That's right. And, I'm glad we brought him up because, I'm getting a little bit of interference over here. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear anything.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you brought him up because I've been planning to have an interview with him. My audience know I'm in the program, and we have an opportunity to, talk to the ACs and the DCs, directors, and get their take on career moves. And one of the things you've been very successful at right now, and I'm not sure because you were such a scholar in college, but you've been moving pretty fast through the agency. And, is that because you just, because of the belief in yourself, your abilities, you just study and work so hard? How much do you put into yourself when it comes to preparing for, career advancement?
Well, I would definitely have to just, off bat give all praise and thanks to God. For me, I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for God in my life, and I definitely give him credit for where I am in my career. And I haven't moved as fast as I would want to, but I know that it's been a steady pace, and I'm very thankful for that. I always try to surround myself with positive people, and I always try to challenge myself to do different things. And I'm not a person I'm not afraid to try different things, but I'm always realistic about what I can do, and what my strong points are. So I've always had a mentor. At every point in my life, I've always had someone that I could go to who gives me advice about things, and someone who will keep it real with me and say, hey, Leslie, I think you should work on this, and I work on that. And I think that's helped me because I don't think I'm there yet, I'm constantly working on trying to make myself a better person. And I think when it comes to the agency, I'm always trying to look at what's the next level for myself, and I've been blessed to have opportunities to move my career ahead. And we've had some delays, I think, because of the cuts and the budget cuts and not being able to move around as much as we were. But I still am thankful for where I am,
That's right. And I think when the time you were promoted, pretty much when things were starting to come to a standstill.
Absolutely.
Wasn't a lot going on.
Yeah, I was in my old position for about 4 years, and all of my good friends, and one of the ones that actually recommended me for the show, they were all just getting like promotions back to back to back, and I was, around people who would get kind of discouraged, and I would always say to myself, it's not your time.
Right.
When God is ready to bless you, he will. And when he blessed me doubly. That year I got the promotion and I got an award in the same year, and it was a promotion that was a 2-grade promotion. I went in at one level, and then I got another level the next year, and then I still have another level that I can attain. So that's a lot to say,
Yes, it is.
About waiting for your time and just being happy for everybody around, because everybody's time is definitely going to come. It's just, how you endure,
That's
Am
right.
I going to just be negative or just be positive,
That's right. And the thing about where we are is if you ever find out about the history, African Americans weren't really moving that fast for years, because I started there in the 80s, and I say around I just was finishing up in school. Well, actually, I was in school when I got recruited, because they came out to the community college, and at the time I was majoring in graphic design, and I was trying to get into publishing, but it was just so hard as an African-American male being young to get into that industry. So when I saw the recruiter, the Social Security people and the FBI people, and these, I think it was some CIA people, they're handing out information to take a test. I think the Postal Service were there also. I decided to say, hey, I'm going to apply. Took the test, I think, with another agency. Capitol Police called me in. So I was kind of on the move. I just had to decide where I wanted to go. And because a lot of things were going on in Washington at the time with a lot of demonstration, and they said the Capitol Police is responsible for that. I was like, whoa. So this, you have to be knocking some heads. It could be your people. I was like, maybe I don't want to do that because I know how I am.
I don't think that's you at all.
Yes, I backed off there because I was really into martial arts then, wanted to learn about weaponry and everything. It was like, listen, we're just going to military. I was like, nah, Reagan and them is in the White House. I don't know. They kind of crazy. So then I decided to go ahead and choose one of the, the agencies, which was great. Working with people, got a chance to meet some fantastic people. But I was watching how it was a trend. I know I said, wow, there's only one black male as a CA, and maybe two in the mob was a BA, maybe one black female was a TA, and it was like, and then everybody was in the files. All the black people were in the files.
Yeah.
So I was like, wait a minute. And then they all battling, trying to get out, backstabbing, you name it. Everybody trying to get out. It just didn't look like there was no movement. So when I did have an opportunity to get picked up by a publishing company, I took it and ran, and I left and didn't look back.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, didn't look back until the economy got bad in 2007. So that's when you met me in 2007. Was able to get back in. Very good friend of Val's, Dee, interviewed me. Recommended me to come on through the door. I was very grateful. His recommendation. Now, all that happening, and then the government's looking good during this period, right? And you seeing your friends getting promoted, your close friends. You've probably done better than them in school. Because you just said you was a scholar. I'm not sure if they were scholars, but
they were definitely scholars. I think birds of a feather do flock together. So
okay, right. They do come off like they could be scholars. So
all of them were actually outstanding scholars. Yeah.
So you maintaining that positivity now. I know it's kind of tough because, of course, you want to stay flocking with them. Then they moving now. They moving fast. And then you have all of us, all the other black people was just as sharp, but waiting their time. Wasn't that kind of a tough time for that whole division, knowing that, we so small compared to the rest of the agency, and then it wasn't a whole bunch of crossing over, where we would do better. Because I was getting tired of being a technician, to be honest with you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Did you feel that same way too? At the same time, you don't want to be a technician, you don't want to apply for a technician job, and there's not a lot of opportunities to go across where you are now. What was going in the back of your mind? What was going on in the back of your mind? Definitely.
I had moments where I would feel sad, and I wasn't sad because my friends were getting it. I was sad that I couldn't share in on their joy from my perspective of, hey, you got it, you got the promotion, I got it too. But I was happy for them. And one thing about me, I've gone through a lot in my life, in my lifespan, and one of the things that I can say is that I've never been a woe is me moment. I've never been a woe is me person. I have my moment, where I feel sad. I'm like, well, why, God? Why is it my turn? But I had to just remember how just in my past he brought me through things. Then I couldn't really necessarily be sad. I think sometimes we get in a spirit of kind of expecting things, and you should expect great things to happen, but you shouldn't feel entitled to it.
Right.
And when it came to the promotions and stuff, I was busting my tail because I knew clearly I didn't want to be anybody's technician. I'm not even sure I want to be where I am now, but at the same time, I was like, I couldn't have a job. So I had friends who graduated who had great GPAs but hadn't been afforded a great job with the government. So I had I would weigh the pros and cons of everything. So I think at the end of the day, I really didn't have anything to complain about. So I would always just try to tell myself to maintain, to be positive because, my time was coming. And that was really what got me through. And I had a period of time where I had a lot going on in my personal life, and it was a lot because you brought up earlier, it was like backstabbing. It was a lot of mess, turmoil and stuff going on at the job. And I personally, for myself, because I'm spiritual, I just read a scripture every time I was going through, and I felt sad, and I felt maybe jealousy trying to creep up. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And I read about putting on the full armor of God, and I talked about that, and I kept saying it to myself, and it kind of became my mantra. It became something for me every day. I'm like, I can do this, and I had to encourage myself.
That's right.
And I think realistically, that's what got me through that period of my life where I was just like, oh my goodness, when is my time coming? And I think everything happens in cycles. So I think I'm right about in that same cycle now because I'm ready for my next level of elevation. I know it's going to come. I don't know where it's going to come from. I know the source is God, but I just don't know where it's going to be. But I'm just looking forward to that moment where I can have another, I guess, testimony to say how I got through something. And it's never necessarily just for you, because I had other friends who now are in the same position that I was then, who are not wanting to be technicians, and I keep telling them, just keep working hard. At some moment, you're going to shine. Your time is coming.
That's right. That's powerful. That's powerful encouragement. And the funny thing about it is, you know, you guys came in, which is kind of weird because, you know, back in the 90s, in the early 2000s, they never brought scholars in that direction. You guys would be in the DC level.
Right, right.
You don't come in through the OCO level, which was, it's like, why are they putting you guys in that situation to fail? Because not everybody is meant to be managers or want to be that technical like that. You want to come in your field, in your major.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you can really excel. Now, you've probably been fantastic going into the communications.
Yeah, I would love to be in that area.
I love OCOM. I mean, they move really, really fast. You never know when a project going to drop on your desk and you already have 4 or 5 of them you're looking at. That's what they call ninth floor importance. But it's like, it's what it is. You know, you live for that challenge. I mean, just like being in the news world, when that news break, it could be 2, 3 stories breaking at the same time. You got to cover them all. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your journalism background now. What did you see when you were in school, you know, getting these great grades, I mean, being awesome, doing everything, you know, you needed to do to prepare yourself for the working world? Where did you see yourself, you know, doing what?
I didn't know. I just wanted to be famous. I wanted to be on TV. When I was younger, I had a speech impediment, and I stuttered really bad and struggled with dyslexia. And one of the things that my mom would do, she would put me in speech competitions and things like that, and I began to just really like it. You know, I really like talking, and I like communicating, and I like talking about difficult things. So I was like, when I was talking, like, I definitely have to do this. So at first I was like, I want to be on the news. Because I remember when I was in high school, we had a forecaster come out, and he was just so awesome. He was telling us about science and the stars and how they come up with the things they use to come up with the weather. And I'm like, well, you know, I really don't like the science aspect of it, so maybe I'll just be, you know, a news reporter. But then I started seeing things like on BET and different things, and I was like, wow, I can host a show. And I was interning with this show called In the City in Columbia, South Carolina. And we went to New York, and I met Wendy Williams, and I got to meet AJ and Free when they were on 106 and Park. And I was like, I want to do that. You know, I want to do that. That's me. That's me all day. I live and dream. I want to interview the celebrities. I want to talk to people. I want to encourage people. And I ended up in the government. And I haven't really, that's the one thing that I haven't really been able to get back to is doing that. And I found that there's so many levels to communication, whether it's written, it's oral, you know, the verbal, all the aspects of being able to communicate with people. So I am able to do the writing aspect of it more so now. And I think, I guess, in my volunteer time, I could do more of the verbal communication where I can go on and I can talk to youth and I can do things like that. Because I actually thought about, for a while, kind of doing motivational speaking, because it's all, in essence, journalism in a way, you know?
It is. And one of the things that happened to me when I was over, you know, we was working together on the foreign side, I found myself losing some of my skills, you know, my communication skills. I said, wait a minute, you know, because when I came in 2007, I was already doing a show, but because of the you know, extent of our training, I had to let it go, even the website and everything. So I just say, hey, I'm just going to be Jerry Royce, the technician, you know, let it all go and focus on keeping this thing. But just to say that, I started a mentoring program over at the high school, and I was able to get back into communication. And I grabbed a lot of individuals from our component to come over there with me. They were excellent, awesome individuals. And I never knew that you were into that kind of thing. And of course even now I can still ask you to come over, can I?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I have to bring you over because, matter of fact, we're working on some things through the DCHR right now. We're trying to get some of the commissioners involved, but other individuals, we would love to have you, especially because these young men that we're working with, there's a few of them that express interest in that field, and you would be great to give them more information about it, especially since you did
awesome.
that so well. Yeah, so we're going to get you involved with that. I was hoping to meet with them Wednesday, but it looks like I may try to sit in and see what they're doing on Friday, because I think the principal was looking at doing something pretty deep with them. I think grades are coming out this week, so he said he needs them on Friday, but I'm going to find if I can just sit in, because they like the fact that we just there from our agency. They don't care, whether you speaking to them or not. They just like your presence. So let's try to hook that up. Okay?
Yeah, that sounds like a great opportunity, because I volunteered with the Maryland Roundtable, and I actually was on their board for a while, and I would go into high school and do the exact same thing and talk to them about, taking the higher classes and how to study and different things, and talk to them about colleges and all the things that are out there for them. And I think there's a lack, even though I know it's a lot of programs, and I think it's great that you're doing that, but I think it's a lack of people going back out and extending their arm out to help somebody, because really that's what it's all about. You're advanced to a certain level, but you have to go back and help other people, because you go through everything you go through to help somebody else. So I am definitely interested.
Just like that guy had done you guys with their forecasting. I mean, it happened to me a couple of times where career day, they had somebody, parent came in, was talking about certain field, and it kind of sparked your interest. Even some relatives. A lot of my relatives were already in publishing and printing, and already kind of knew that I was going to go in that direction, because I used to like to draw. I used to have my own little comic book. A group of us used to exchange ideas, and I finished work at the end of the week, and I used to love that so much. So we ended up going into publishing and printed our own magazine for a few years before it went online. But with the way the economy is, you just never know that things shift, and you have to be ready for it. But as long as you have that communication background, like what you have, you can go anywhere. Any component. Definitely. Now, you said your strength now, you're trying to make it writing now. Is that what you said?
Well, I think definitely for me, I like to write. I like to communicate. I had a blog for a while where I would just talk about different things, and I wrote poetry and different things. But there's different writing, what I'm learning, different types of writing. Like you have a technical writing, and then you have your writing when you go in school, because I'm getting my master's now. So you have your different levels of different type of writing. So I think it's always great to know how to communicate on every level. You should be able to articulate yourself in a way that someone else can understand,
That's right.
And I think with the agency, one of the great things that they've done is trying to make sure that we write on a level where everybody can understand,
Absolutely, yes.
So that's definitely helping me, I know, a lot.
And someone like you really got to get your name out there now, because that's one of the weak areas with the agency, that, when they do have to produce some really well-written documentation, they don't know where to go. You have people struggling, really, really struggling, because they've been asked to write. I remember when I was in communication for that 6 months, they were asking me to write research plans and everything. They would just give me these small little templates. I was like, wow, who wrote this? And I won't say that I'm like the best writer, because that's not my skill set, my real natural talent. But because I was in publishing for long, I know good and bad writing when I see it. Because I was putting it together, I was like, whoa, I think I need to bring an editor on this team right here. They told me it was finished. No. And so, working with them, they would give me, research reports to read. And I was like, wow, did they write this correctly? But me being ignorant of the fact that I never really have read research reports, because they, how they get kind of redundant and just keep saying the thing over and over again because of the way the reports were written and the information came in. It's like you have to kind of groom yourself to understand that, oh, this is not a fictional book. This is some facts that was taken from a research, and they have to keep planting it in until you understand at the summary of the report is read. So that was so interesting just to understand that style of writing. But you probably would be great at,
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm great at it. I try my best, but what I found with the agency is there is a standard. However, you have so many different level ACs, and you have everybody has their own perspective of what they think great writing is, and it's based on what their background is. So coming from a journalism standpoint, we have a certain type of writing that we do. We know how to write. Like if I'm writing for a script, I know how to write for that. If I'm writing for for editorial or something, it's different writing. But when it comes to the agency, it's really depending on who you're dealing with. And I think that's kind of a lot of times where we mess up because there's not a standard. And I think they're trying to get a standard of writing, but you have different ACs with different educational levels. And you don't have to be the most educated to be a great writer, because we have great writers that don't have, a lot of education. But I do find that, when I work on different projects, it's really depending on who I'm writing for. So what I tend to is I try to get a grasp of how that person likes the material, and then I try to write the way they would want me to.
There you go. Very good. Now, so we about to come to the close on the show. Tell us a little bit about your future plans. I mean, I know you're not trying to stop where you are right now. So where you see yourself at the end? Before you start thinking about retirement. I know you're pretty young right now, but have you thought about executive level SES train? What they call that thing? SES program.
Yeah. It's crazy because I always said I was going to be the commissioner. I laugh and joke about that because I always see myself being at the top. So wherever the top is, that's where I want to be. But, I always joke now with my friends and anybody I pretty much meet, I'm telling them I'm ready for retirement now. And they always say, oh, you're too young to be thinking that way. But when I think about retirement, I think about retiring from the government and working for myself and working and building my own empire and working where when I'm asleep, I'm still working because I'm still having my assets and I'm still making money. And I don't know exactly what area that is going to be, but I definitely think it's going to be something in communications. I see myself traveling and going to places and speaking to people. I was going through some of my journals a long time ago because I do a lot of journaling and I go back and read it. And in college, I said I was going to be a motivational speaker, and it was crazy to me because I come back in full circle a year or two ago, and I said I'm going to do motivational speaking. And I've seen people like Zig Ziglar and Les Brown and other people, and I was just in awe when I saw them. I actually saw Susie Orman speak, and I think they are fantastic, dynamic speakers. So if I had to leave FSA or the agency right now, I would leave and do that. I would go and inspire people and speak to people and do just go out and encourage people, And I think
a lot of people need it right now. They do.
Yes, absolutely. And for me, I think it gives me more than a paycheck could ever give me. It gives me it just makes me feel good to know that I can go out and encourage somebody to be the best that they can be, because everybody can be the best that they can be. They just got to work at it,
That's right, and the fulfillment. Now, you ever thought about, it's this popular thing out there now called life coaching, life skill training, health coaches, fitness, mind gurus? You ever thought about that kind of thing?
I've absolutely thought about it. I thought about it on so many levels. I kind of was playing around with some logos and stuff and trying to think about starting my own business, and I just get to that point. Sometimes, you'll start a project and then you'll stop, and I'm just trying to clear my plate. Like right now I'm working on my master's. I was getting my master's in divinity, but I'm thinking about switching over to religious studies. But I think sometime in the near future I'm going to be doing something like that, because I actually met this guy in the mall, and he was talking about how he goes to colleges and he talks to them about recruitment possibilities, and talks to them about different schools and what the schools have to offer. And I asked him, I said, would you be interested in doing something on that level, but on a different scale where it's about more encouragement and stuff? And he was definitely interested. So maybe that's something I can work for, in this year, of trying to maybe put a group of people who are interested in that type of thing, and we just going out and doing it,
That's right. That's a blessing right there. Because our young people definitely need it, especially at the high school level, because once they come out of middle school and they start figuring this thing out, high school is a different animal right now. It's real different. It's real, especially when you're talking about the big part of the big cities, The kids are really getting confused now. I mean, there's just so much information out there for them, but they just don't know what direction they're going in, and they don't have the guidance at home. The support system's not there, and they need us. They really need us.
Absolutely. Because I think if I would have known a lot of the things that I have known now, I would, everybody always says, if I knew what I knew now, I would go back and change everything, if I could go back and keep what I know. And I think that's the problem. We don't go and tell the youth about that, because they don't know about the opportunities. It's like, oh, I want to go play football and I want to play basketball, but they don't realize that there's so many other jobs. You know,
Yes.
What if you break something and you can't play anymore? Does that mean you can't still work in the love that you have? You can be a coach, or you could be the person that deals with the scores, or doing the football's travel, the players travel and stuff. It's so many fields.
It is. It's a lot of jobs in that job, right?
That's what I'm saying, and they don't see that. They see that big one position. It's like, I want to be that person.
Because that's the one thing that's
going
to get them out. Yeah, it's
right.
going to get them out.
They don't have a backup plan.
Yeah, the back. And some of the coaches are starting to become a little bit more intellectual with the way they're coaching the kids now. They bring in a whole mentoring piece to the job now. Like, for example, my son, he's only 11 now, but he loves football. So what we do, I took him over to the Ravens complex. We got a phone call to bring him over. They were going to let him hold a trophy. Take a picture with the trophy. Went over there. They actually had me take it out the case for him to hold it. And then after that, we took pictures. They walked him around the facility. He had an opportunity to see the broadcasting room where they were going to broadcast the draft, where they had the boards, the talking points, and everything prepared. And he got a chance to look at it. He was so I used to saw his face. And then when we signed up for middle school, for magnet school, he got in as a Spanish language arts, but he had tech ed as his minor, which means he get a chance to work the control boards in the beginning of school. Got a chance to make announcements. They talk about the weather, news, whatever's going on, sports. And he comes on. He's just so excited about that stuff. Of course, that was just an elective. So now it's going to be up to me to kind of introduce him to a little bit more of it, what I'm doing here. But I was so excited for him to see that it related to sports, another part of sports. So I'm glad you said something like that. And my oldest son the same way. He always loved basketball, got hurt in high school, but he got a chance to see another part of it by getting into what they call audiovisual technology. So he got a chance to work for. He got a chance to work for ESPN for about a year and doing his internship.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's a whole lot. It's a whole big world for communication and sports together. They all fit together, right?
Absolutely.
All right. And I appreciate you being on the show, Leslie, talking about all this positivity. Got a chance to get to know you. We wish you luck in your career. We hope you find that entrepreneurship, because there's nothing like entrepreneurship. Nothing like it. And before we go, I'd like to lay anything on my audience before we close the show out?
Well, thank you again for having me. I am honored. I really appreciate the opportunity. And I just want to say to anybody out there listening that the sky is the limit. You can do anything that you want. Just put your mind and your heart to it, and you can do it. Believe in yourself, and just know that the God above sees all, and he's got your back. Take care.
That's right. Amen. So hold the line. We're going to end the show. Hold tight. Thank you for tuning in to the Positive Power 21 Network. Team 21 would like to thank you all for tuning in, and please spread the word and tell a friend. This is Jerry Royce at Positive Power 21, where we get our positive on.